this is terrible. So not only did they shift 2 out of 3 houses, they got £24,000 more.
Why is 35% doom-mongering? You haven't answered that question.
Now, I agree with you on that part.
Listen,
But was this clickbait?
sorry, absolute rubbish. If prices were lower, more people could buy. It's not doom-mongering, and anyone who thinks it's doom-mongering, it hasn't thought it through.
And that's the problem with the estate agency, is this.
Because you don't need to train someone into a bullshit script. For agents watching, I hope they take this part on board, because
So good or bad recruitment can either scale or destroy your agency business. Are you wasting hours on CVs, bad interviews, and paying huge recruitment fees? If so, there's a smarter way. Inside Talent is the Netflix of estate agency recruitment. They hire, train, and retain all under your brand for one simple monthly fee. So, podcast listeners, you're going to love this. Look out and make sure you lock this down. It's 10% off their yearly subscription when you contact the team at Inside Talent and quote #Showdown. Now, you need to check them out, don't you? www.insidetalent.com. Inside Talent, smarter hiring made simple. Welcome to Estate Agent Showdown. Now, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by two powerhouse industry thought leaders who are getting on a little bit too well for my liking at this stage. So let's try and disrupt this straight away. Welcome to Charlie Lamdin and to Chris Watkins. Welcome to the show.
thanks, Matt.
Thanks for taking the time and joining me on the show today. So we're going to dive into various subjects, but I'm going to kick off with something because I've got a lot of questions. And we'll probably only get through one by the sounds of it. But anyway, we'll start with the first one. Is the industry broken, or is it just full of weak estate agents? Who would like to go first? That's very magnanimous of you there, Chris.
Is the industry broken? Well, rather than stating an opinion, let's look at the actual numbers. How long does it take to move house now compared to 20 years ago? It's about twice as long. How much are agents making on their fees compared to 20 years ago? It's about half as much. I don't think anyone could argue that's a good outcome for an industry. The reasons behind it, that's another whole conversation, but it's absolutely, I mean, anyone who's tried to move house, whether you're a home mover moving or someone in the industry trying to help people move, there's not a single soul I know that doesn't think, this is terrible.
Why is it so terrible? Is it because there's too many weak agents? But anyway, we'll come back to that in a second. Chris, what are your thoughts on that opening question?
Each week I do a property market stat show where in the first half we talk about what's happening in the UK property market, and the second one is we focus on a town or a city, and the one we did this week was in Fulham. And in the top 10 estate agents, 2 estate agents, household names in London, only exchange contracts, which again is a term that not many outside the industry would use, but it's legally done, nearest damn it, what it is. And they were shifting 19% of the homes they put on the market. These are household huge names in London. Okay, there was a franchise, and she was exchanging contracts on 64%.
Wow!
And because we use the data from 20EA, they apply an automated valuation model, and again we can talk about that to the cows come home, whether they're any good or not, which I'm sure we will. But if you're comparing everyone in the same town using the same model, it might not be the perfect model, but at least you're comparing it all on the same level playing field. They got £24,000 more than the average Fulham estate agent for the same house. So not only did they shift 2 out of 3 houses, they got £24,000 more. And then we look back and we can look at the overvaluing stats. And these agents who were only shifting 19% were overvaluing by 3-4%, which in Fulham is lots of money. These smaller agents, they were, and it's a small franchise, but it's still a franchise. They were still in the top 10, and they were overvaluing by 0.5%, as opposed to 3%. So you've got the big boy agents who they don't really care. I genuinely believe an awful lot, not all, an awful lot of corporate estate agents and the people that work within them do not care if they sell the house or not.
Why is that?
Because they're addicted They're egotistical.
Is it dopamine of listing?
Dopamine of listing. I mean, if they really cared, they'd do their own vendor management, wouldn't they?
This is my first point disagreeing with you. So up to that last point, I agree with everything you've just said, and you've highlighted the problem really well, that household name estate agents are selling less than 1 in 5 of what they list.
Yes.
Okay, that's a broken business compared to an independent or a franchisee who's selling 2/3 of what she lists. That's, I think, kind of where the average should be.
Yeah.
Right? You should selling 2/3 of what you list. That's good. It's not great. I've seen better.
UK average is 54.
Is it 54?
Which is just shocking.
Okay.
And when we say sell, we mean actually exchange and complete on.
But the reason it's broken, the reason that the housing market is broken, the reason the estate industry is broken, the reason for these things going wrong is because the incentives are wrong.
They're geared around the wrong things.
The incentives, and especially with the big corporate agents, look at their business models. The incentives are wrong.
Well, they
sell
get
financial services and sell conveyancing leads. And if we happen to sell a couple of houses on the back of it, fine.
I genuinely believe for the larger estate agents that the vast majority of them, that selling the house is a loss leader to basically be a funnel for everything else.
I actually have had the leader of a large national agency tell me to my face that without financial services and conveyancing leads, they wouldn't be in business.
I mean, absolutely scary. I was talking to someone senior in a firm, and they said if someone walked in off the street, this is a solicitor, if someone walked in off the street, we would charge them £750. If it was introduced by an estate agent, the estate agent would charge it out at £1,450, of which we get £450 to £500
of a corporate referral.
Yes,
right. That right there is what I'm talking about. The incentives being wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong. It's
and it is driving the reduction in transactions, the bad pipelines, the long pipelines, all of those things. And
well, if they're overvaluing it because of the dopamine hit, they're not even bloody well selling it, are they?
So
we're in agreement here.
We are. So
where was the disagreement?
You asked Chris why, and he talked about ego and listing and that kind of stuff. And those things are correct, but underlying it all, I think, are incorrect incentives. The listing, the staff.
I don't disagree with you on that. There was,
right. But it is important to understand because that's the problem that needs to be fixed. And until and unless incentives are changed, it won't change. You can say all you like what should happen, but I heard a very successful venture capitalist once said to me, people don't do what you say, they do what you pay.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But how do you then, because let's say the average estate agent's going out there, they're competing with 3 estate agents, one of which is a corporate chain, and their incentive as the agent is to win the listing, because that's their job. They're the valuer or the branch manager who lists. How does that change? How do you get that change?
There's only one way.
Go on then.
There is only one way that this changes. And for agents watching, I hope they take this part on board, because I'm now speaking from the horse's mouth, working with an agent who came to me 4 months ago saying, we cannot, unless we overvalue, we cannot compete. We are only getting second-hand listings, and even those are too high priced to sell.
Yeah, and not many of those do sell.
Our pipeline,
well, they get harder to sell, don't they?
Our pipeline is struggling, and it seems to be a zero-sum game, race to the bottom. And can you help? And I went to them, and the condition of helping was, you must do what I say, all of it, because if you don't, it won't work. And it took a few weeks for them to go, all right. And they eventually said, okay, we'll do, even if it's uncomfortable, you must do exactly as I say. And they have, and the results have exceeded my expectations, right? But the golden rule was, you're never allowed to talk about price. You do not talk about a valuation and the valuation. And when the seller says to you, so what's my house worth? What can you get in my house? The answer is, don't know. And anyone who tells you they do is making it up. So where does the seller go from there? You go quiet and wait for the seller to go next, and they go, well, how does that work? Amazing question, right? Whatever words they use. How does it work? Well, we adopt a process and make sure we create a market for your house. And the purpose of the launch price, which we work out with you as part of the process, is not to inform the sale price. It's to get people through the door. Because without people through the door, you don't have a market for your house. And without a market for your house, you're not getting the best price. And their results now, after a few months, are over 90% under offer in 3 weeks. Okay? It's astonishing. And not only that, no more price reduction phone calls, ever. And they kept on saying in the first few weeks, so like, this is such a difficult thing to get out of our heads about how we do it. But what when they ask this, what when they ask that? You cannot, until
So you just say, do not talk price, do not talk price.
Don't talk price, because, and the reason why you don't talk price is it achieves nothing. You can talk about price till the cows come home, to an individual seller, to your local market, social media, to the nation, whatever. It's of zero consequence.
Well, they end up playing it back to you if you've got an offer, which is probably a good offer, but you told me the house was worth $850.
And so what the process is we ensure enough viewings to create a market for your home.
With the right buyers.
And the qualifier, by the way, is, and they don't take every instruction, because they won't take an instruction that the seller doesn't buy into the process. If they think the seller has got a figure in their head, they're like, I'm really sorry, you're not buying into this. And the test question is, will you trust us on the launch price? Will you, the seller, Mr. Seller, trust us, the agent, on the launch price when we get to it? Because, and a couple of times they've got to it, and the seller's
So are you saying, Charlie, you go off market first, or you go to full market at that launch price to get the viewings, focus on the people coming through the door, focus on the number of people coming through the door, the quality of the people coming through the door, and the price will be realised?
Exactly. And it works every single time. And it, obviously...
So do you put the property on the portals?
If you need to.
So hold on a second. You're talking about using good old-fashioned estate agency hot boxes and mailing lists here.
I'm talking about good estate agency. Now, this only works if you are inherently a good estate agent.
And if you've got a process.
Right, correct.
You need people on your mailing list for this, though, don't you?
Well, yes, but and it was interesting, because the other question they said to me when we started was, what do we do with all the stock we've got that's sitting there overpriced? That's very easy. I'll sort that out for you in no time, right? Because they're either wasting your time or they're costing you money, or both. We will clear that shelf, and it'll either be in your pipeline or it'll be off your shelf. And we did. And it was fascinating. So, but this only works if you are actually someone who knows how to be an estate agent. And by that I mean, never mind prices, the process, qualifying applicants.
Could you for the benefit of the ladies and gentlemen, could you give a little bit of the secret sauce away and give an idea of what that process looks like? And just for the record, and this is purely coincidental, this particular agent is one that's known by me, and I know the people there.
Yeah.
And I've looked at their stats using 20A, which you know I'm a big fan of, and what he's saying is true.
Yeah. So it's verified? I don't think Charlie's going to sit on here and bullshit us on this, because actually I know enough about Charlie.
We can mention
to know
their name. They're okay with it.
Yeah.
If we need to want to.
Yeah.
So.
I would like, for the benefit of ladies and gentlemen here, is go through the process as if I was a vendor.
That's it.
Okay. So if you are, if I was the agent talking to the vendor, I'd say the single most important point of this process is the launch. You don't get another chance to get it right. And if you don't get it right first time, it can go very badly wrong, and you can miss the market, and all kinds of things go wrong. And it's not about just setting a low price. Because on any given individual home, there are going to be only a handful of other properties that are directly comparable.
Yeah.
And you've got to go and study exactly what's happened with each of those. Is it a first time? Is it a second time? Have they price dropped? Is it a fall through? Did it sell? Has it just exchanged? What are the differences in square footage between this one and that one? Because as we all know, sellers will tell themselves all the stories about why theirs is worth more. And the goal is to make the vendor's house look the best value of the comparable homes. Not cheap, but for... And the reason it's so important to get this precisely right is that you can come in too low, and you can miss a market like that, right? And you could end up being guilty of underselling and that kind of stuff. So the problem they've got now, I mean, the very first property they did this with ended up going onto the market at 1.3 million and went under offer at 1.42 within 3 weeks. They had 30 viewings on a £1.3 million listing.
And what would they have put it on for, do you think? I know it's a high.
Oh, the other agents were saying 1.5, 1.6.
And then they've ended up chipping away at the price, coming down, lost the impact of first impression, first launch.
So we all know those mistakes, right? But the process is, I mean, just 2 days ago, I had a call with them, and they were saying
the process.
The process.
Come on, let's do the process.
As part of the process, discovering or working out the launch price, they've tied up a deal because something really interesting has happened that they didn't see coming, and actually neither did I. But now I think about it, it's obvious. They said, we've had so many buyers who've missed out on the stuff we've been selling like this because they're like, hang on, no one's selling stuff this fast. And now suddenly our buyers are like, we are now ready. Yeah. We are ready.
They know the process.
Everything. Yeah, we are ready to go. And so now some of those buyers who've already missed out 2 or 3 times are going, because part of the process, right, is calling these
I'd like
buyers.
to know what the process is.
So the call, the phone call.
That's very, very important, right? And at the beginning of the process, they didn't have as many people to call because they weren't doing this process properly, as I told them to, right? They call the buyers that they know have missed out and say, we've got something coming to the market next week. We don't know what we're going to launch it at, but it does meet the specification you're looking for. No talk about price. And the buyers already know they're not talking about price. But if you'd like to have a look at it, we know you're serious.
What if that buyer says, well, do you know what? I've missed out on that one. I wasn't expecting it to be bidding as high as it actually went for. Am I just going to go through another bit of heartache? Because as a buyer, I'm thinking, Jesus
So the agent
Christ,
says, hey, look, our job is just to make the market. Do you want in or not?
Yeah.
So
it's really strong.
You're getting FOMO there, aren't you? Which is a great emotional.
Fear of missing out,
and there's no manipulation.
Okay.
So the process is talk to your qualified buyers that you know are bidding. So in other words, they are the market right now. Don't expect to get the sale off market, but sometimes it'll happen. And it happened this week with a buyer who just went, I don't want to miss out again. And they tied up a deal. And the agents was as surprised as they were like, we weren't expecting that to happen. But the seller has gone, that offer, I'm happy not to go to market.
So part of that process is calling people. The other part is...
So obviously very careful, precise research, which they include the seller in. So the seller actually is going...
It's part of the process.
This is real process. They really are going forensic about this. Okay?
Stuff like pound per square foot, spliff reports.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then they do any off-market inquiries, viewings that might happen. And normally that leads to, okay, we're getting an idea of the launch.
Would you do the forensic analysis before they got signed up?
No.
Do you think doing the forensic analysis would get even more people signing up?
They're currently on 100% success rate of everyone they want at the moment without having to do that, because they're saying that's detailed work, and we go into greater lengths than other agents on that process.
So the challenge here is, so basically, because I like to encapsulate things down into single sentences, is you're persuading someone to put the house on the market without giving them a price, then saying that, do you trust me? Mm-hmm. You're then doing some detailed analysis, a ballpark figure which doesn't get pronounced to the outside world is this is the range, this is what the stats are saying.
No.
But no.
You mean as part of the price discovery?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's not a range. It's let's just look at the facts that we know, right? How long has that house been in the market, and what price is it on? It hasn't been. I mean, the process takes a life of itself. Actually, it tends to take a life.
I like the fact that you're involving the vendor in the pricing decision.
I believe in that.
And that's not just a case of whacking the 3 comps out and pointing at the middle one.
Or going, I think it's here, and then their reaction tells you whether you should go up or down.
Because isn't it interesting that when I know not many of us are on the front line anymore, but they always used to say, Connells gave me. So it's almost their perception is that the estate agent's buying the house. Yeah, when in reality it's not. So the big challenge here is getting people to trust you in the first place to do this.
Well, I think it's what I'm hearing here from Charlie. I do still do some valuations here and there. I'm not going to call them valuations. No, but I'm just playing with the audience, because Perry Power talks a lot about this as well with regards to how that appointment should be structured, framed, pre-framed, discussed. It's a marketing and price strategy, isn't it? It's about what's the route to getting you the right buyer who will then pay you the right price. Because I'm a great believer that a lot of house prices are being reduced at the moment in our area and where we are. Last year, the average estate agent reduced prices by 7%. 7% average house price, probably close to 400,000. That's a heck of a lot of money being taken off the table. And they're judging the fact that it needs to be reduced based on the fact Rightmove hasn't sent them enough buyers. And that's a really bad thing. So what we're doing is reversing all of that with this conversation, saying, well, actually, forget Rightmove, forget all of these metrics. If the right buyer, the right profile with the right needs sees your home and feels that the solutions are matching what that looks like, and you've got 3, 4, 5 different viewers of that ilk, what do you think the price will end up being? Will it be the best price? It will. Ultimately, I believe that, and it is a process, and it takes you away from competing with other agents on price, which is a differentiator.
That's what the industry's turned into, a beauty parade on Rightmove.
Well, I think Rightmove's the worst place to judge whether you've got the price right, because actually it's a shop, isn't it? It's a shop window, or it's a magazine of properties. Most buyers flick through, gaze through, browse through. The best, like you just said, know your buyers. Once you've built momentum in that market as well, and you've got a real handle as to who's buying, who's not, and you're inviting people on that process to come and view before it actually goes to market, that creates a lot of fear of missing out, as you just mentioned. But it drives that behaviour, which a seller really wants.
An agent's job is to create a market. And if you create a market, the house, it will sort itself out. And so, can I just finish the process?
Yeah, go for it.
Because let's say you've had a few people view, but you haven't sold it off market, which they don't expect to ever do, right? That's not necessarily the best thing to do. They then bring it to the market at a certain price, and they schedule it now. And because the average number of viewings they've had, and bearing in mind this agent's average instruction value is around about 900,000, and it's gone up now actually. The average number of viewings is 16 within 2 weeks. And the average number of offers is 4. And these are heavily qualified.
So the results are speaking
buyers
for themselves.
That's the point. So when they're talking to the agents, the clients, the clients go, well, hang on, how's this working out? They're going, here are the results.
This is what we do.
What percentage of properties on this process don't sell off market and have to go onto Rightmove?
Oh, most of them are going public.
Most of them are going public?
Yeah.
Where does that price come from when you do put it on?
Well, and interestingly, this is the point at which the seller is they're very happy if the seller wants to walk away at that point. If the seller's not comfortable with the launch price, then the agent wants to walk away too.
So does the launch price have to be eye-catching, and then you've got to get people in and get them fighting over it?
Of course, but the launch price,
it's like open houses.
It's very precise to each, and they have open houses. That's exactly what they do.
That's right.
They have week 1 open house, week 2 for second viewings and late comers.
Okay.
And then week 3 is offers.
I like that.
I like that.
I like the second.
We do open houses.
The second open day for second
or event
viewers.
pricing.
Yeah, that's special. So simple, but
well, it's a strategy, isn't it? It's a strategy. It's a
who
process. Just coming away from that, I just want to pick a couple of points up with you both on this here. So, in 2020, Charlie, you predicted house prices would crash by 2025. Are you kind of changing your outlook on how you comment around pricing by talking about this particular area today? Because it's very difficult to pinpoint prices and increases, decreases, because it's governed by the right buyer at the right time.
So can I correct you slightly?
Yeah, go for it.
It was 2022.
2022, okay.
And I said that my expectations are that
was
house
this just
prices,
when the mortgage rates were kind of increasing rapidly? It was before
so
that.
it was February 2022.
Yeah.
When I didn't have an audience.
Yeah.
And the video is still there.
Yeah.
And I went, I've been in this market long enough, and I've worked in the city, and I know how markets work and liquid. I said, I reckon we've just about reached the top, roughly speaking. And I think that the chances of house prices coming down, which hasn't existed for years, might just materialize this year. That was the beginning of the year. And then as the year unfolded, I thought, and then I saw inflation. And I know what happens with inflation. Inflation leads to interest rates. And it was amazing. Because I used to deal in interest rate futures. That was my job in the city, right? So I understand the money market, all that kind of stuff, gilts. And so once inflation goes whack up to where it got 11, 12%, it got inflation. It was a mathematical set. There was no choice. They had to raise, and they were slow to raise the rates. And no one in the industry believed they were going to do it. They went, oh no, they'll get to 3% tops. And they got to 5.25, I think was the most they got to.
Yeah.
And I said, my expectations are, and they remain, by the way, so that peak to trough, the average nominal price will be down 35% by the time, but it'll be a slide, not a crash.
Okay.
I never said a
down
crash.
on 2022 at that point.
Now, this was a general thing, right?
Okay.
And it was an expectation. And my motivation was to try and get people to understand that it is possible that prices go down.
Do you think people misunderstand your kind of intentions around that? Because I don't personally. I kind of look at it and think, there was a lot of things going on at that time. I would say from agents probably saw the pinch mid-2022, certainly towards the end. It was pretty obvious the tap had been turned off. And if the tap's turned off, that means demand's dropped. Supply then increases, which inevitably you achieve a challenge, which is we've got people that want to move, some that need to move. The ones that need to move are making the decisions to change their prices, which creates a decrease in the overall house prices. And being out there on the front line, I've got to say that from my standpoint, I've seen in this year, and maybe even last year, your prices are kind of more like 2019, 2020 in a summary, and you do get pockets of differentials. There are definitely anomalies in that area, and I think agents should know what they are because pricing is still driven by supply and demand. And what happened in 2022 is demand dropped significantly after what was the incredible time of 2021, 2020 to 2022, really, where it went nuts.
It's not as straightforward as supply and demand. Nothing increases. Sorry, let me just get my words straight here. House prices correlate wage growth more closely than they do anything else. Not transaction volumes, not interest rates.
Okay.
Right? It is CPI, inflation-adjusted wage growth, is the number one closest correlation with national house prices.
Okay.
2024, 54% of all transactions were first-time buyers with a mortgage. And now we're seeing that unemployment has gone. So 250,000 people have come off payroll in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Right? I know. I mean, this is the worst economic employment news since 2008. So unemployment is currently increasing faster than during the financial crisis, right now.
Okay.
Now, first-time buyers are reliant on their salary and their employment to get mortgages, and they're 50% of the market. So this is why I have been surprised at the resilience of first-time buyer pricing levels in the last few years. I have been surprised, right? I'm genuinely surprised at that. However, after the data that Richard Donald from Zoopla has given me about the pent-up demand from people who just want a home, like they just want a home, I now begin to understand why that's held up. First-time buyer prices have held up. Prices at the top end of the market have not held up, but there's no index that shows that, right? Everyone who's dealing in higher-end prices has watched in some parts of the country, like...
I think it's like, what is it, 2 in 10 or something, 20% complete? I can't remember, over $1 million. I can't remember what it is exactly.
But there are areas of the country where detached house prices are down 20-30% now from the peaks. Doesn't get reported. Now, I now worry about first-time buyers. So I do not want house prices to fall. And people mistake me thinking that I do. The least damaging way for affordability to improve, which is what I do want, is for house prices to flatline as wages continue to grow.
Yeah,
that improves affordability, and gradually more and more people will be able to afford homes again. What we both want, and what all agents want, and what the public wants, and actually what the economy would benefit from, is more transactions. And what is amazing to me is that if we were to correct 2025's transaction volumes for 2006's transaction volumes, adjusted with the population growth, we would have over 2 million transactions a year now. So when we talk about, transactions are up 5% this time last year, we're still 50% down where we should be, right? And that is a function, or that is a consequence of how badly the market's operating, and overvaluing, aka talking about house prices, is the root cause of this problem.
So just circling back.
He hasn't answered the question.
Oh, so what was the question?
What, the 35% doom-mongers? You haven't answered it. You went all around the houses, although, to be honest with you, what you said is spot on.
Hang on a second. Why is it doom-mongering to say houses are going to get more affordable?
No, you said...
Why is it doom-mongering to say there'll be more transactions?
You said 35%
on the
prediction. That was his question.
Why is that doom-mongering?
Because...
Who's it dooming for?
Because
I think agents look at that and now say, fuck's sake, you're talking the market down, that's not going to help, that kind of thing.
But these are the same agents go overvaluing and shooting themselves in the transaction volume. So
do you think it's
in my mind,
it's the same agent?
Two separate things.
What is?
Talking about overvaluing because it's ego and ego and what's the other thing? Because they're targeted on and they're paid on it, incentivized, versus the doom-mongering of the 35%.
Why is 35% doom-mongering? You haven't answered that question.
Because, well, let's look at the stats. When you announce that, the nominal, which is headline house prices, have gone up 5 or 6%. And then every single time that you were challenged, you would say, well, this is just my opinion, but I could be wrong.
You're not answering my question. Why is it bad that house prices come down?
No, the point was,
why is it doom-mongering?
It's doom-mongering because at the end of the day, a lot of people have got a lot invested in the property market and themselves. And if you start doom-mongering by saying house prices are going to crash by 35% in 3 years, then that could affect people's decision on whether to buy or not. Because in one aspect, you were saying, you were going to say, house prices are dropping, end of the world. Oh, by the way, if you still want to buy a house, make sure you get it at the right price. Now, I agree with you on that part.
Listen.
But was this clickbait?
It's not. I don't think that when housing affordability is at its worst in history.
Oh, how are you measuring housing affordability?
Wages to house prices.
Do you think people make a decision based on wages versus salary?
I know the lenders do.
Okay, but the thing is, though, if you look at the nationwide first-time buyer, they actually work out, because the way people decide whether they're going to buy a house or not, if they can afford it, is how much of my wages is going out of my account. And that is at a really, even today in London, it's 20% cheaper today in terms of how much money leaves a household income on mortgage payments than what it was in 2007.
Okay, doom-monger, right?
And
would agents sell more houses or less houses if prices were lower?
Let's say sell the same amount.
No, sorry, absolute rubbish. If prices were lower, more people could buy. Because affordability improves.
But wouldn't that push prices up, though?
But no, affordability is, everyone uses the analogy.
It's not doom-mongering, and anyone who thinks it's doom-mongering, it hasn't thought it through.
No.
Okay.
I think it's having this is a really great open discussion. Sorry, Chris, I cut across you there, but
by the way, he did say then inflation and add another 15, so really in real terms it's going to be 50%.
And there are places that's happened already.
50%. Yep. Well, it's all very good looking
at
land
registry data in certain London boroughs. There are houses that there are property segments have already seen only a few, not lots. But it's already
last week,
no one thought it was possible.
Interestingly, there was a guy put last week, not you, someone said, the average house price in Mayfair has dropped by 50%. When you actually look at it, it was the average price of the properties that sold, and there was only 30 houses sold in the last 12 months versus 24 the year before.
It could depend very much on what was sold.
Selling.
Yeah. So versus the actual average.
Okay, but house prices in London in the last 3 years have dropped, and no one's reporting it.
Okay. Correct.
Absolutely, and probably
the Financial Times reporting it.
Okay, but probably overall by about 5 to 10%, and there are some parts of London where it's dropping even more. And
tell me this: why should an estate agency business care what happens to house prices? They get paid on a transaction, whatever the price.
I don't disagree with you on that one. Correct.
So why do agents get upset whether house prices go up or down?
Because we're all headline readers.
And is that the problem? That's why we're doing half the transactions we should. That's why fees are so low. That's why transaction times are low.
Fees are low. Something different.
Well, let's come on to that in a minute. But I'm really interested in this because if the prices were lower, demand would increase, right? Mm-hmm. So as demand increases, that pushes prices back up. So I think
not automatically, not necessarily.
Really?
What pushes prices up in relation to wages is stimulus.
Okay.
Right? It's help to buy. It's
artificially
low interest rates.
Yeah.
It's
but as an agent on the front line, and you've got a listing, which is what we've talked about at the start of this pod, which is if you go to market at a price that's too high, it doesn't work. In fact, it costs the seller a lot more in the long run. If you find the right buying market, but through a process, you'll drive the price up. And I just think if that's where we haven't got that control, unless you have a clear...
Because if you were doing headlines saying prices drop, end of the world, and don't get me wrong, bad news sells newspapers, because whenever I write
it's
stuff...
It's not the end of the world.
Okay, but what happens is this. People move not with this, but they move with this. And look at house prices in the early to mid-90s.
This is the root of the problem with the whole industry.
Okay, is that interest rates were okay, house prices were cheap as chips, but people didn't feel emotional that they wanted to move. And if house prices did drop by 35%, everyone was just closing
Where's
the
the
doors.
data to support that assumption? People didn't feel like they wanted to move.
Because it's an emotional
I've got
thing.
the graphs from Zoopla about how many people actually want to move. And
So it's about how
25%
aspirational-
Yes,
of
is this the same stuff? And again, nothing against you, but there's reports that 50% of landlords want to sell, but no one ever,
No, it's not that. This is
surveys, it's like it's turkeys voting for Christmas.
So renters and existing homeowners that want to move.
Yeah, if I ticked a box, do I want to buy a Porsche? Yes, I'll tick that box. But I'm not going to buy a box.
No,
a Porsche.
Sorry, there are people waiting to buy with money in place, right? Who aren't even offering because the agents who think it would be doom-mongering to sell more houses won't drop their prices because then they'll look stupid to their sellers.
Going high,
so
going high
agents
to win the listings.
nail their tackle to the mast on these high
Charlie,
prices.
I agree with you about the process to get to price. I'm fundamentally agree that because I think you're playing a really dangerous game as an agent, going in there and predicting what somebody might pay for the house and then putting it on at the wrong price and getting no interest. Then you reduce it, again, and then you're clambering around to try and find buyers which aren't there because the buyers don't want to go and look at it.
Because again, where does the responsibility lie? Does it lie with the vendor for accepting an over-egged pudding or a double roast tinted?
But this is where skill. This is skill. And actually, it's not a great deal of skill if you really have a clear process and an explanation and stats and stories, which is what you're talking about with this agency now. They're building
and that's
more.
the problem with the estate agency is this. Take out probably the top 30 or 40 estate agency chains that can afford a trainer. I challenge. Okay, so they'll all have. If you've got an office of probably about 10 branches or more, you should have an in-house trainer. Is that fair?
I think training is a massive part of
training
skill.
and development. Okay, so we'll go with the top 50. Hey, let's even go the top 100.
Yeah.
And the top 100's got 20% of the market. So you've got 14,500 firms who are in the rest. Okay, I challenge you to name me more than 10 estate agency trainers.
Right, but here's the thing, right?
Because
this process needs less training.
Well, it's less about. Well, go on. You explain why.
Let me explain why. Right. When I first started,
they're
doing
not getting much anyway.
It doesn't need any.
What about training and development?
It needs an induction, right, to the process. And once you get the process, if you get a seller who goes, "I trust the process, I'll come to market," it's then
okay. That is training and development.
All right, fair enough. But my point is, you don't need to train someone into a bullshit script.
No, because
so this is where all the training is. Like, what do you say? What do you say? Oh, Mr. Seller, if I said this, would you do that?
A lot of training is scripts, but
you don't need scripts with this.
No, you don't. You have to believe in the process.
So this agent is saying,
but you need to be trained in how to do the process. We haven't got to go around with any
presentations. We haven't got any.
Do you know what? Because I think demonstration beats presentation every day of the week, and I think scripts are useful. I do genuinely think it's a lot easier to just educate people around a process than it is to try and manipulate a conversation. So I totally get where you're going with that.
Training and development isn't scripts.
No, but there should be some.
No, but the magic thing is this: there's not even any trainers to do anything.
There should be more training. I agree,
and development.
But the trouble is that most agents don't want training.
No, because they used to work for. I mean, if you don't mind me saying, there was Countrywide and Halifax. Okay, at least they did train the staff.
You were on a commercial for the Halifax once upon a time.
Yes, I was on the Halifax team there. I was the token fat bloke.
I never said that.
I said it. And I still think most people who are in senior roles in a estate agency are still referring to their old, your ex-Countrywide, when Countrywide were forced to be bloody well reckoned with.
They were very good then.
We're all going off the same hard manuals from 30 years ago.
Well, actually, this is where when I was at Countrywide, I had a completely different outlook as to, we had this 10 reasons why presenter. And they said, you've got to tell every client you sit down with the 10 reasons why they should use us. And I'd say, I'm fucking doing that. I'll hand them the presenter and I'll ask them which ones mean something to them or which ones are more important. And then I'll talk them through those. But just coming back to this, because I want to talk. I think you both had massive value to the industry. You bring lots of commentary and thoughts. A couple of things, Chris. You talk a lot about agents going out into their local market and educate people around pricing. And with what Charlie's saying, what if the agents went out there and educated people on their process, do you think they'd have more success or less success off the back of this conversation?
I'm not talking about the process of coming up with a price for your own home.
Right. You're just talking about market prices, trends.
Okay, let me turn that one around. You're at a barbecue.
Selling and not just getting the price right, the process of actually getting the sale completed.
Okay. If you were in an accident and you were looking for a solicitor, would you actually be attracted to the person that says, here there are 5 reasons of the law of tort or the law of negligence, which one should you use? And these are the reasons why? No.
No, but you would want to hear a story that goes, this is what went wrong with my last client. This is how I fixed it. This is what went wrong with this client. This is what happens in the real world. So we take down the fluff of, hey, it's all great and we're all great at our job and use me. You actually go, it's a shit fight selling a house, right? Look at all the stuff that goes wrong. And this is what we are very, very good at overcoming for our clients, and our results bear it out.
The story.
I do not disagree with you. And you should tell stories, and I tell my clients, and I tell the people to tell stories. The magic thing is that we, the agent, are Obi-Wan Kenobi and not Luke Skywalker. And where we've got to be careful is that we don't make ourselves the heroes.
Yeah.
We make the client the hero. So basically, one of the most powerful, it's called the hero's journey story. And, if there was this firm, should we mention the name?
Fine, yeah.
Yeah, it's Carrington's in Kingston. And what I would be recommending they do is that when a vendor's completed, they don't do a video saying, this is what we did, and this is they interview the vendor and say, right, you've been in the house 20 years, and then they spin the first it's called step 1 is Once Upon a Time, and they talk about why they love their house and why they wanted to move. And then step 2 is they've got a few estate agents in, and there was the 2 normal estate agents and these guys from Carrington's, and they didn't suggest this, and they did what Charlie's method is. But the person interviewing the vendor is saying, didn't you think that was a bit strange? And you get the vendor to articulate that back on camera with the potential, when people say, well, I'm not sure about not putting it on Rightmove to straight away. Well, you're not concerned about that. Well, they did, but then actually what we did, the agent did this, and this, and now we're living in our home, forever home. And so I don't disagree with you. I just say instead of the agent talking about it, get the vendors to talk about it.
That's a lot harder because a lot of vendors don't want to sit.
Well, do you know what I've done? I've got one on here. I've got a video with a vendor where they're the only one on camera on their lounge in the house they bought through me, and then they sold another one through me last year. And it was very much about the emotional side of moving home, the decision making. The guy pulled out, lost the plot, pulled out with his sale with his buyer. I gave him 24 hours to cool down. Then I said, what was your outcome again? And he said, that was the question that intervened, the sale falling through, and we got it over the line. So there was a little bit about me being the hero there. I'm not trying to make
you're the guide.
But he said the intervention specialist. He said that was the bit that made the difference. But just coming back, sorry, Chris, I'm just going to revert you back, because my question was, do you encourage agents to talk about the market and the pricing and the fluctuations and the thises and the that's, or should the agent spend more time doing what we've just heard Charlie talking about, which is revert their process, clear their process down, make it as so fucking different than what everybody else does? And then, as you just said, you're adding in...
That isn't an either-or question, because one is your process and one is your external marketing.
Okay.
But what? Sorry.
And I'm not
talking about house prices, whether it's locally or nationally.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
It's just clickbait. It's industry clickbait. It's of no value to anybody.
But you've both done it. You've both done
it. What, Mr. 35%?
I've tried to undermine
but I see a change, though, Charlie. I see a change in your...
He's doing less of it, much less of it.
But I think what you're talking about today, I think people will be surprised to hear, unless they're in your WhatsApp groups. But I think people will be surprised to hear...
Because have you heard about what his best agent is? That's brilliant.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So we can touch on it.
I find, you've got some great ideas, Charlie, best agent, this thing that you're doing with agents, and then you're almost pissing on the firework. Pardon the pun. Sorry for swearing.
That's all right. We don't mind.
By going for a different audience with your clickbait 35%.
Right. The way I've had estate agents as clients for 25 years.
Yep.
Right. And talking about price is like self-harm. It's like saying, I don't want to sell as many houses. I want my transactions to take longer, and I want to have to compete on fee to win business.
Two different things.
But this is so important.
Two different things. One is talking about the asking price of an individual property versus this is what's been happening to house prices. This is what's happening to rents.
So, okay, but how does what's happening to house prices help anyone? How does it help an agent look different from another agent? It doesn't. How does it help an individual buyer or seller? They're like, we're moving because someone's died. It doesn't matter what's happening to house prices. If we don't get this right, it's going to take a year to move. If we get it right, we can move in 3 months. That's what we want to know. It's like, how do we avoid falling into the trap? Nobody cares about house prices. That's what they follow because they think they don't know what nothing else is talked about.
Nobody cares about house prices, but the Daily Mail apart from Diana,
it's the only topic that's talked about
because
by the media.
After the weather, and they're only talking about stuff they know their audience likes.
How's it doing for transaction volumes and for fees and for transaction times? This strategy of talking about the market, it's killing it. And all discussion on house prices feeds into overvaluing.
Okay, I find it fascinating, but if you actually read the stuff that people pay me for, I will always put in a house prices have gone up by X%, and then will always be a paragraph at the end, and it's quite an important one because Matt, you're a client of mine, and it will say, but just be aware, realistic pricing is really important because only 54% of houses that do come on the market end up moving.
And how many people read that compared to the headline?
I can't control whether
it's
they
about
read
100 times more read the headline.
Okay.
And it's the same exact, Rightmove is the same.
35%.
Rightmove's headline and then
Mr. 35,
don't overprice
Mr. 35%, and then you do that, but sometimes I'm wrong and I might be wrong.
Well, look, let's pull this back.
I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I care about how many transactions there are.
What about,
I literally don't give a tuppeny fuck whether I'm right or wrong about any of this. I care about people who need to moving house. I care about people...
So did you use the 35% just for clickbait then?
No, that's what I believed at the time.
Okay, do you still believe it?
I still think we could end up there, yes.
Could.
Why does it matter? What difference does it make, Chris? What difference does it make to an agent or a mover?
There could be a couple out there.
You're clinging on to the
There could be a couple
herring.
out there. There could be a couple out there that'll say, "Well, we won't move because Charlie says house prices are going to drop by 35%."
Well, I can't. If anyone's that stupid, I can't help them.
No,
right?
No
one's going to do that. Sorry, that is such bullshit. No one's going to go, "Oh, I saw a bloke on the internet said house prices might do this, so we're not going to move." They're going to talk to their agent. They're going to look at their local market.
I mean. When good news comes out, you hardly talk about it, but it's bad news. In fact, I did a deep research on AI on your Twitter feed.
It's not about me, Chris.
Okay, on your Twitter feed, and it basically it said between 70 and 80% of your posts are doom-mongering.
Twitter.
Yeah.
So what?
Well, why are you doing doom-mongering? Why won't it be?
Okay. Why am I doing doom-mongering? Let's just pretend hypothetically that I accept that I'm doom-mongering. Okay. I have on a daily basis people messaging me saying, "I wouldn't be in my new home if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't have offered if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't have sold if it wasn't for you." So I'm helping people move on the back of that.
I don't disagree with any of that,
well,
and I've
is that
seen
not
it.
a very good reason?
Okay,
for doom-mongering?
Yeah, but
if that's what I'm doing.
But you're putting out headlines because Twitter's only.
I mean,
so many
honestly,
characters.
Chris, it is such a limited mindset to think that what I'm doing is doom-mongering when I'm actually helping transactions. I'm making more people.
I think. Sorry, guys. I think what Chris is saying is that he knows you're doing that work with buyers and sellers and helping people move. Why does that not translate in the majority of your posts? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
I'm guilty. It could be clickbait. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Well, you are, Mr. In fact, I had a clickbait question for you somewhere.
I could do much more. If I wanted to do clickbait, I could do much worse clickbait. I'm not doing clickbait. I do what I think. What I mean,
Quirky does it as well.
So hang on. Right, the ONS is openly fucking lying about national house prices using its own data. You can prove that. And I do that. Is that doom-mongering?
No.
Or am I providing a service? Does anyone pick up on it?
Or is it transparency?
Yeah. Does anyone talk about it? Nobody talks about it. So what happens is, if you're a bullshit artist, then the transparency guy is a doom-monger.
Yep.
I don't disagree with that.
I
don't disagree with that. Right, so...
But you are known as Mr. 35%.
Watkins, come back to me. Look at me in the eyes. Look at me in the eyes. Not around the eyes. Look into the eyes.
It's not about me.
Just on that. Do you think agents should do more about their process as opposed to the pricing? Or do you think vendors don't really care about that? They're more bothered about the pricing? And I know your answer to this, Charlie, because we've spent time on that already.
Short answer, of course they should.
Okay. Because I think agents out there at the minute, I mean, they're not doing enough about pricing anyway and the market fluctuations as it is.
Because they just want the listing.
But I think this is a really
Estate agents
solid,
don't care whether they sell a house or not.
solid conversation, which I think might bypass too many people by, especially if they're in the incentivized world of winning instructions rather than helping people move home. That actually price is dictated by the willingness of the seller and the buyer to agree at a point. Now, the best buyer will pay the best price. How do you get the best buyer? That's the magic. That's where the magic happens. And if you don't do anything magical and you just rely on Rightmove, then you may as well just go and overprice houses because it's the only strategy you've got.
Yeah, because they're shit at marketing. They don't get trained on how to deal with people and sell psychology. They don't have a great process, because I love the process that Charlie recommends.
I'm all in for it as well. I'm just going to come away from this because we've spent, God bloody hell, this has been rattling by. But I want to talk to you about the models. Because you'll both have comments on, because the industry is full of model talk. And if you go onto LinkedIn, you can't help but be smacked around the face by the fact that someone's picked the kids up.
Don't even, if another EXP agent says, it's changed my life, if you want to change your life, give me a call on.
Do you think the majority, and I do think helping agents to build a business or to create their own controlled welfare and wealth
model,
but
so.
No. I've got business partnerships, but I do want my agents, if they want to go down that route, to go down that route with 100% certainty that they're going to be the one that makes it successful with our support. But just coming back to that, I think estate agents out there at the moment, I think we're in this really interesting place. Business owners feel like they're working for the employees. They've had to make, and because they're in fear of either missing out with their best people going somewhere else and doing it for themselves.
Well, you'll lose your best valuer and now they'll become your biggest competitor.
But there's still, I mean, I don't know what the stats are about how many people go self-employed and actually achieve more in year one financially than they would have done in their last paid for salary, secure.
Because it's not the panacea you think it is.
No, it's not.
It really is not.
I've had agents message me and they're like, I don't know why I've done this. It's the worst thing.
Because they're excellent on the sofa. They
get leads. They're okay when the leads come to them. And they're really fucking good at dealing with that. But there's I was talking to my PT this morning about the fact that, in his industry, loads of people went and done personal training. And this guy's a strength and conditioning coach. But this guy gradually moved into it. He came out of being a tree surgeon, gradually working with sports professionals, gradually part-time, gradually getting into it, building up his knowledge, built his clients up and then went bang and into it. He'd done it over time and done a really great job. For me, in that industry, it's just like people see the ease, I can do this, I can do that when I like, when I like, and I'm going to get paid 100% or 80% commission. But just coming back to this point, the self-employed models, it feels to me like are now going to be competing with each other. So in the self-employed space, what you're going to find is a lot of people just hopping around from commission to commission. What's going to give me the most back?
A bit like if someone swaps from employed to your move.
And there's this big kind of void between the two. The bit where I see the pain point is I actually talk on behalf of probably business owners who are seeing people looking out the window, thinking is life better on the other side of the fence? Yet what is that success rate like on the other side of that fence?
Okay, 80%, a very well-known self-employed model, 80% of their income comes from 20% of their people. And most of them, I would say the vast majority of them are earning probably less than what they did when they were an employed agent.
So I have a very old friend, childhood friend, who ended up being the number one fee earner in the whole of Countrywide. Right? He didn't want senior management position. He was frontline out there. And 20 years ago, he had a salary that started with a 2. Okay? And eventually...
20 grand.
Eventually, he decided to go self-employed because life changed for him in many ways. He wasn't in London anymore. And he couldn't get a single instruction. And he's a man of utter integrity who knew the process better than that. But no one called him in. No one wanted to talk to him. And he would talk to people and he'd try and network and do the basics that he did. But there was just too much aggression by other people beating down the door. And he was a sort of quite quiet guy. Right, if you know what I mean. He wasn't a big in-your-face, didn't want to do social media, but he was the best by far outselling the house. Now, this is the problem with the whole industry, is that
It's geared around the wrong thing.
movers want to find agents like that and have no way of doing it. And you've got people going into the self-employed model who are good agents, not great marketers, right? And who would do really well
great sales
if
progressors.
they got the chance. And they would do really well if they didn't have to lie about the value of a house to get the business. They do better, right? So there's an argument that says the guys that are smashing it are the biggest bullshit artists of all of them. Because
What do you call smashing it? Listing it or selling it?
the ones doing 80% of the revenue, because they're the top 20% of the agents, right?
Isn't it interesting that the vast majority of those are not people who outwardly go out saying, come and join so-and-so?
They're just focused on it.
But my point is, like, the whole industry is earning less than it could and should be.
Yeah,
Mm.
correct.
Oh, I agree. I think we
back in
should
the
be-
90s, I knew negotiators making 100 grand a year. They should be making over 200 grand a year now.
When
But are we losing people because of this? 80%, let's say, are going, why have I done this? It's a big mistake. Do they go back to being employed, or do they leave the industry?
some are leaving it.
So we're actually seeing people leave the industry that actually, if they were probably better looked after or given better incentives around the right behaviours, is that all performance versus, trust model? Actually, let's get the culture of the business aligned with your behaviour and incentives. That would be a really cool way of retaining people and helping them to have a life outside of the business.
So this is the whole idea behind Best Agent and the way that consumers can choose an agent on Best Agent, right? This optional filter of reply if you're so the way it works is we get seller leads every day, and we send it out to the 20 nearest agents. There's no cost at that point. Every agent can respond, and they have the option of responding with a video message. And the ones who do respond with video messages almost always get invited round. Now, what's the difference between the agents who do respond with videos and the ones who don't? It's a natural selection where the people who are comfortable being on video tend to be more honest,
Well, they know what they're
comfortable
talking
in their own
about.
skin, and the people who don't want to do
they
videos
believe
are the ones who
themselves.
don't want to be recorded having to
You're
get the
seeing the
bullshit.
person. Isn't it interesting that EXP's number one agent is Tony Ruby, and
What a guy.
and for the 2 years before he left, he built his personal brand whilst working for his existing employer.
I got a screenshot of a message he sent me, I think it's 2018, 2019, asking if I'd look at Grantham as an area. Fucking hell, when you kick yourself. But what a guy he is. But what I'm trying to sort of say is that this industry, business owners are finding it hard to keep, retain, and look after people. And actually,
Well, when you're
business
paying them-
ownership used to be about you hire people, they work for you.
You're paying them because the wages are so, the wages have hardly grown.
But has that mindset disappeared as well? When people, is there a real challenge now? Are we the last of the people that appreciate that, the harder you work, the luckier you get kind of mentality?
Is
Or
that
are
the
we-
way you were brought up, though?
Or is it now just people want to get, the golden goose?
But Matt, it's a rotten game and the money's shit.
Yeah. I do think the money's shit. There's no doubt
Right.
about it. We should
But
be.
then the game is rotten. So
game-
don't hate the players,
Yeah.
hate the game. And
Yeah,
the game
yeah.
of overvaluing, talking about price, until that changes, nothing improves.
But what's happening there, though? I just want to kind of get your thoughts on this about what's it like now for business owners? What do they need to do? And what do people need to really think about taking that big leap? It's not to try and talk people out, because actually I went self-employed, right? So I'm not sitting here saying it's the worst thing you do. But I really believe that you have to be the jack of all trades if you're going to go and do that to keep your costs down. And then people just want you. Then how do you hire people in to replace you if you haven't got time to train them?
Does it not all start at the top with the boss, with their culture and their mindset and the values?
Yeah. I think in business, yes.
The way a boss, I can't see any other way of solving that problem about what you do if you're the boss, other than first of all making your business profitable.
Yeah.
Right. As in a good product that customers are happy to pay a decent fee for, and then you've got the budget to pay people a
then
proper
you can
wage.
bring people in.
And then guess what happens? It gets
You have a
better and
chicken
better.
and the egg,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah.
So what we got from that, guys, is that look at your process so far. Look at your process. Is it different to what everybody else does in the market? If it isn't, that's the problem. It's not the market. It's your process. It's how you get people to their outcome. And that's something that I think you shouldn't ignore if you're watching this, by the way, because if you're not different, you're just the same. You're just going to be the same as everybody else. And then it becomes a price battle, a price war, a fee battle. And actually, in my opinion, you should be turning away listings if you're really good. You should be turning away clients if you're really good. I love that Daniel Priestley methodology of being oversubscribed. And I've got agents that I work with who have actually, on a call yesterday morning, they're telling me that they now charge for a valuation if it's not going to market. And I'm like, fair enough. Well done. You value your time. They're turning away vendors who want to go on at a price that's just unrealistic from the off. And I think that's brilliant.
I would say that if there's one thing that's going to change this industry is that every estate agency boss should get a coach or a mentor or a guide. And yes, there's people like yourself, others are available. And you can also get one for free from Agents Together.
Yeah, for sure.
And it all starts and it all ends with the boss.
Sorry, Chris. Unless the mentor's advice is
got to be the right
overvaluing.
Yeah, well, yes, okay.
I promise you guys, that's the only problem we're talking
you're
about.
talking to the converted.
Okay.
I've never been someone that
it's got to be
thinks
the right
that's a
advice
great
and
strategy.
the right mentoring.
When I opened gigs in the first year, we were often least on the value and highest on the fee. But because I could educate people around the differences and the impact and the consequences, people were like, well, that just doesn't make sense. And actually, the best thing you can do with a vendor is say, well, would you pay that for the house?
That's right, put it back.
And would you really? And actually you can really get some traction that way. But just coming back to a couple of other things, because I think the model war that's going on out there is just going to fester within each other's model.
We never answered the question, did we, about the self-employed versus employed?
Well, there's a lot of commission only, advanced commissions. You've got different value adds for different self-employed models. It feels like now the tables are turned where they're just competing with each other. And will there just be this reciprocal kind of hopping around models? And then if they're super successful, what's just going to stop them just going off and going, do you know what, I don't really need whatever it is behind me, powering me up or whatever it is. I just do this myself. I've got my name's out there now. I've got the revenue. I'm just going to hire people, build a proper business and go from there.
I think it's horses for courses. I think there are people who are very good people who love talking to customers, love in the job, hate the running of a business, hate the admin.
That's who I work with. My guys hate running the business.
And for those guys, these models are good.
Yeah.
I know they're all different, but generally speaking, it allows them to just do what they're good at and the rest is taken care of. And they pay a pretty hefty premium for that service and that backup. And I just think fees for anyone, whatever model you're using, you should be charging 2% for selling a home. You cannot do a good job selling a home for less than 2%.
So and again, if I started again, Charlie, and I started from scratch, because trying to roll back into a place where you started 13 years ago is a bit trickier than just starting afresh. If I was starting afresh, we started at 1.5% and we're still around that. I'd be going less clients, higher fees, an exceptional journey. So the customer, there is absolutely, and every client would have that exit interview, whether they come off the market, whether they have moved home. I'm obsessed about understanding how we can improve. Yesterday, or the day before, I found out I lost a valuation to a very nice young lady who works in our area. And so I got the message the night before and I said to the guy, absolutely understand, no problem at all. Are you open-minded just to have a few minutes on the phone tomorrow afternoon? Because I want to ask you a couple of questions. And he said, yeah, absolutely no problem, Matt. It was a real close call. He kept saying it was a really close call. It was just down to the fee. And you take a bit of security around, but actually it was a load of old bollocks. The bottom line is her follow-up, her proposal, her keenness, her enthusiasm got the listing. And actually that's what I took away from it, because sometimes when you go out there and you fall into the habit of it's another appointment, it's another valuation, rather than every single time you meet someone out there on the front line, it's their first time. And that is the mindset. And he said to me, Matt, after this conversation, I'm just going to give him 4 weeks. We'll be back. And he goes, I love the fact that you wanted to know how you could improve. And he said, are you going to tell your team? And I said, not yet. I will tell them next week. But
I thought that was a good way of if you lose a valuation, that one-liner. Yeah. I know you don't like scripts, but it's a great one-liner. Is, are you open-minded, therefore putting the bomb back in?
Absolutely. And he gave 25 minutes. I was on the phone to him.
Because people love their opinion.
Digging into that process. But just coming back, if I started again, 2%. I think 2% is achievable. if you know your market, if
If
you know
you
your
can
audience,
just show
if you
it
know your profile.
And prove the value by
I think as long as you can demonstrate the results,
Well,
then the fees
do
are
you know,
a problem.
Sorry, this has brought me right back to that conversation yesterday, because we, on average, negotiate 1.8% extra in comparison to the average estate agent, and we reduce a lot less prices than the average estate agent, who last year reduced by 7%.
Have you got 20 EA and prove that?
Well, this is the point, and I get Gatesy to supply me some of those statistics. But the fact is, there's about 9% in the region of that I've got to play with there, and 2%'s only. That's 2% of 9%, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, there's a load of work there that we can do now.
The classic Tom Panos line is that the cheapest agent isn't the one with the cheapest fee, the one that leaves you the most money in the pocket. And you can say, are you really going to give away X to save this?
You see, I still agree with that point, but I still think that it's going down the wrong road. I think if you can show that you consistently achieve multiple bids and get properties under offer in under 28 days, consistently, all the time, then you can say, and our fee for this service is 2%. End of story. And if you know another agent with this track record that can deliver this, tell us.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying, you tell them the process, you tell an emotional story as well, and then you hit them with facts at the end. And here's the
but you
proof.
can't guarantee what you're going to get them at the end. The price. This is my point. Like, just get away from the price.
Hold on. You could go on 20 EA and it will give you the AVM model, which is their opinion of the price. No, but it could say
it's guesswork. No one knows what the house is going to sell for.
But would you be saying that if Carrington's come back and said they get 5% more than everyone other agent in Kingston? But you'd soon
how do you measure that?
You'd soon change your tune then, wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't. I promise you I wouldn't. No, because that feeds back into the whole bollocks price discussion. When actually what people would want to move house to do is, what, you can get me under offer in 28 days? Done.
Okay, it's just multiple offers. It's just comparing apples with apples. It might not be the right apples, but it's still apples. And there's a piece of kit that's independent that says you've still got to do all that bit up front.
But it doesn't guarantee that seller's going to get that result.
Never said.
But this is my point. It's
they're
a
not
risky,
leaving this one, are
it's
they?
a
This
risky
is great.
promise. You've got to stop talking about price. You just don't talk about it. The market sets the price. End of story. Price? Wait to see what the market does.
Yeah.
Who gives a flying tiddly what's it about what the average is for the last this, that, the other? We're not in the past. Next week might be different.
Okay, to make a decision, it needs emotional buy-in and logical buy-in. And I'm just saying there's a bit of kit out there that can prove it. Should you use that bit of kit on its own? No, you shouldn't.
Okay, at the moment, Carringtons are going in there with no data other than the stuff they've just sold recently.
Okay. They're telling a great story, which is very important.
It's not even a story. It's like
it's a process.
This is the result of the Carringtons.
That's a story.
Fine. Hey, I'd say it as I'm coming to you as a customer when I spend money. Does your product work? You can call it a story. It's like yes or no. Yeah, and this is like yes, it works. End of story. Right? Our product works. End of story. Do you want to use us? They've got no script. They've got no data. They've got no presentation. They've got no bullet points. This is how our process works. We work with you to work out the critical launch price, and everything we do then gets under offer within 21 days.
Do you know what? It's
that simple.
It's demonstration, and it's you're demonstrating success. You're demonstrating an outcome.
And the best, because the best thing about all of this is not that they're winning more instructions. It's not that they're getting a higher fee. It's not that they're selling it shorter. They have now built up the best bank of proceedable buyers they've ever had. All of whom are going, I want you to sell my house.
Yeah,
they are now being given instructions, going, I want that.
Future sellers.
Yeah.
So I love this. Has been a really great subject today, and I'm really this is fantastic. I wanted to kind of talk about personal branding. I want to get your thoughts around personal branding. Actually, you kind of sit just outside, but you created your own personal brands, and then you've got the company brand. Personal brand, company brand. Which one is first? Which is the most important?
They're both as important.
But if you had to choose,
if you can have both, I think personal brand. Where a lot of people go wrong with personal brand is they think it's all about them, and it's not. It just so happens you're delivering a message by a person.
Can it be a bit narcissistic?
Yes, there's plenty of people out there that are.
Am I one of them?
No one in this room is. Even
Oh, I'm
him.
definitely a narcissist. But
There's
you
a
can't
clip.
help it. You know, if you're born, if you're born a narcissist, you're born a narcissist. What are you going to do about it? You have to work
I think it's a well-used word these days, anyway. But
what does it mean?
But it doesn't. See, I think personal brand. I think
We've all got
we're
personal
we're in
brands.
a people industry, right? Whether you're
Yes.
coaching and helping agents, or whether you're helping the members of the public, they need to know who you are. They need to build that know, like, trust.
You need to know what you stand for.
They do need to
More
know what
than
you
who
stand
you
for.
are, I think
It's
that's
your
the-
values. It's your approach, your process.
People are going to make a judgment about you, whether and a good way of orchestrating and creating a facade, but not a facade in a bad way, is you might as well give them what you see. But what you've got to remember is this the true Chris Watkin? Is this the true Charlie? And none of us are really, when we put the cameras on, we're not really our true 100% our truth selves, because we don't even let our partners don't even know our true selves. In fact, we don't even know our own selves.
Well, you evolve.
But we can be 100% truthful.
Yes, you can be. Okay, but to answer your question, what's more important? They're both important, but I tell you here now, if I was going through the self-employed model, it scares me. I was on stage at TA UK, and they were talking about, should we call ourselves personal agents? And I said, the punters don't even care what you're called.
Correct. No.
Okay, and in fact, don't even care about your model. All they want is someone to sell their house for a decent price and without any hassle.
It's funny, actually, about titles and stuff like that over the years, how less important they've become in the event.
Is it true you've got Supreme Leader on yours?
Legend. But I've really struggled to know what to call myself, because I'm Matt and this is what I do. And I think what we're talking about today, I think when it comes to those kind of things, they are immaterial. Your personal brand is your reputation, isn't it?
It is your reputation.
It's that fundamentally.
I think the magic thing is, because most people watching this are agents, is if you want to grow your personal brand, then you just deliver a message that's helpful to your audience, by giving. Okay. And you don't have to give, you have to give stuff that you hope is helpful. Now, whether someone agrees with it or not is not everyone's going to agree with you.
No,
I agree with 90% of what Charlie says. There's a certain aspect I don't agree with him on, but that doesn't, we were going a bit ham and tongue. Honestly, when the cameras are switched off, we'll be giving ourselves a hug.
Oh, you've already hugged once today. I'm sure
we
you'll
are,
hug again.
We are mates, but both of us are mature enough that we can disagree with each other, go hanger and tongue, and then when the camera's switched off, we'll be mates because we respect each other's opinion.
If I could, hypothetical question, if I could fast forward into the future, into a scenario where I had persuaded you to say to agents, actually, talking about house prices is counterproductive. And it's better to talk about A, B, C, D, E, anything else other than house prices, because an agent's job is not to determine the market price. An agent's job is to get the transaction complete, whatever prices are doing.
Do you think you've convinced Chris?
Not yet, no.
See,
He's so dug in. There's no way, but I want to.
But there's a difference,
And let me finish, because if in that hypothetical scenario, that resulted
Who's
in
winning?
twice as many transactions happening, would that make you go, actually, yeah, if I thought that would happen, I would stop talking about house prices? Because transactions helps everyone, including the whole country.
What do you think of that, Chris?
You can't control what other people are interested in, and every homeowner is interested in the value of their own home. Hence why you're at the barbecue and
Stop looking
someone
at my questions.
says, "What do you how's the market?" I would say when Rightmove publish the asking price index, is that useful? No, it's a crock of shit.
And agents use it to justify the value.
Yes, okay. Not saying Rightmove is, but I'm just saying guiding where asking prices are is irrelevant. Because I track the average asking price of every property coming on the market. This is the scary bit. In the last week in August and the first week in September, 5,000 homes come on the market in London. Remembering that there's over 40,000 homes come on the market every single week.
Yeah.
And there's 5,000 come out on the market in just a 2-week period, so 2.5. And it affects the average asking price by £80,000 because the London market is so screwed and it affects the market. You shouldn't be tracking asking prices, but there's a different,
Do you think everyone's a bit too wrapped up in all of this data? Do you think everyone's a bit too obsessed with that instead of? No,
Charlie's right. People read headlines, but if you actually look at most estate agents' blogs and posts, all they do is post their listings anyway. So no one's really talking about house prices. Come on. No, it's listing, pie chart.
You advise agents to talk about the local market, the local housing
Yes.
market, what's happening in the market, and what that always ends up invariably being prices. And they always come up with the same usual bullshit about how buoyant the market is and how optimistic and how confident and this, that, the other.
I'm sorry, if you could produce me some of my reports I've written, that's not my style.
Okay, cool.
There are plenty out there that do that, but I'm sorry, I'm not having you.
Okay.
I'm not having you. You're not having me on.
No, that's fine. But
because it's 1,000 word.
again, I would say,
Matt, you get my comments.
if you need to leave home,
are my reports flowery and away with the fairies? They're not. They're quite hard hitting.
Now we have to change a little bit of the tone here.
Do you think sometimes they're a bit too mean, aren't they?
Yeah.
I like to get a bit balanced.
I get the point. Just look, coming back to because there's some really good meaty subjects, and we've covered quite a few today.
How far have you got down the list?
Well, no. Do you know what? I've looked through. To be honest, I've hardly used any of these. We've just got into that first conversation. It's flowed quite nicely.
nothing else really matters.
But you mentioned Rightmove, and that's not on any of these. What's the future look like for Rightmove because of AI?
I hope that when Best Agent starts delivering shorter housing transactions at higher fees, and agents start to go, hang on a second, the clients coming on Best Agent are ready to transact. That we're selling more houses in less time at a better fee, and the intelligent section of the agency community will start to embrace it. And then they see that it's a complete end-to-end transaction platform where, without lifting a finger, they will get to participate in referrals that come via the platform as well. And all they do is focus on running their business, and they make more money and are easier to find by the public. I'm hoping that because Rightmove is nothing more than just advertising, it's just advertising, and Best Agents are actually a transaction platform where we're equipping movers to speed their whole transaction up, which benefits everybody. I'm hoping that in due course, the only thing that will actually move the needle on Rightmove's dominance is going to be Best Agent.
The paradox with Rightmove is that estate agents pay for it, but their customers are the punters that look at it.
It's crazy. In some
and the
ways,
issue
isn't
is that estate agents see Rightmove as a stock room and not when they should be looking at it as a showroom. You see, how an estate agent judge Rightmove is by the number of leads they get, when in reality that is a poor metric to judge Rightmove.
It is if you don't look after the leads.
Agreed. Yeah.
Well, they don't ring half of them anyway. But the job you've got, Rightmove has created a level playing field for everyone to put their listings on, as long as they're keenly priced, and the great process. Tick that box. Big box, by the way. But is to put your properties in front of people so people can see it. Yeah, you should be doing separate marketing to try and drive people into your hotbox to get vendor leads.
It's your
process, the way you sell
nurture.
the way you sell houses, which is the way Charlie does, is a fantastic way to do that. You've got stuff like Best Agent, which again is a great method to do that. And then there's other things like talking about the property market without bullshit.
Can I just ask you though, because of AIs? I mean, where do
Oh,
you
I didn't ask you a question. Right. This is
where do you
what, tell you what will
search?
happen is this, okay? Because everyone's saying AI, shmai, whatever. I think all they do is, where it says you search, you put the Grantham in, and obviously because that's central G-Towns, and the bedrooms, there'll be a box that basically says, tell us what you're looking for in a house, and the voice will listen to it, and it'll come up. So they'll evolve. They've got...
AI is not going to make a difference to the overall process of moving house much.
No.
It's definitely a threat to the portals in a way, because the search approach is going to change from the public's point of view, but there isn't a search problem.
No.
Correct. The magic thing is that if we want to fix a state agency, we need to get the right people, pay them the right amount. We need to not motivate people to list but to actually they only get paid when they sell. We need great processes that works for our vendors, like Charlie's method, which is a fantastic method to get the best price and create a market within yourself. And at the moment, we're too transactional, and we just see estate agency here to serve us, when in fact we're here to serve the vendors and the buyers.
Agreed.
Do you know what's worth repeating as well is the fact that I think
It's not Best
most
Agent again,
agents,
is it?
no,
Okay.
I think most agents underestimate the value and importance of what they do.
100%. If
I
you
think
look at what you can actually do.
Everyone who's never been an estate agent has no idea what a difficult job it is.
And the hard part is
They
not
don't know.
The hard part is not getting the say. It's getting the bloody thing
I've
through.
just hired a guy who's come into my business. He came out of media for 16 years, director and everything else. Come in real big, like really great guy, very calm, really. And it's so funny watching him. He's got to learn to be an agent for the first 12 months. It's funny. He's selling houses brilliantly because he's building relationships, and if they don't like the one that he's showing them, he's taking them somewhere else, which is brilliant. But he goes, I didn't realise it would be this hard.
And the fact that the public thinks it's easy.
I do.
Was
it that McDonald's advert,
unbelievable.
isn't it? You open the door, pound or whatever it was, or Big Mac or
It's
whatever.
such a difficult job, and you get all the way. I mean, I've seen working with characters. I've seen the days from completion, and then a deal just unravels.
I tell you what, the unsung heroes of our industry are sales progressors and property managers in lettings.
Yeah,
they're the worst paid, and they are simply the very hardest working, stressful
big
people.
shout out to the sales progressors
and property managers
and the property managers. Agreed. I've put together some bonus quick fire round. I haven't done this on any of the episodes yet. I just thought I'd do it with you. So, Chris, Charlie, you've got to say agree or trash with no explanation, which is going to be very tough unless asked to defend. So 95% of estate agents don't deserve their fee. Agree or trash?
Trash.
Agree. Sorry, what was the question again?
I don't agree.
95% of estate agents don't deserve their fee. Agree or trash?
Trash.
Trash.
Purple bricks changed the game for the worse. Agree or trash?
Agree. Hard agree.
Trash. Absolute rubbish.
They made the worst thing that ever happened in this industry.
No, absolute rubbish. That.
Yeah.
And I've got.
I might
stats
circle
to
back to that one
one
because there's another discussion there. Most agents would be out of business if they couldn't door knock or lie.
Well, most don't door knock anyway because they don't like the rejection.
What about lie? Agree or trash?
It's trash because I've got an agent that's not lying and they're doing really
not
well.
everyone. No, the silent majority do really well. It's just unfortunately it's the Billy Ball.
Transparency equals trust.
You'll like this next one. A market crash will cleanse the industry, and that's a good thing. Agree or trash?
Trash.
It's already been cleansed with the.
You'll like the next one. Come on, is that agree or trash?
Do the question again.
The market crash will cleanse the industry, and that's a good thing.
Trash.
Yeah, last one. Estate agency is more psychology than property.
Agree.
Fantastic. Guys, we've already gone up. You're the longest episode so far.
I'll
be honest, I could keep going as well, but I know that we've got a couple more guests coming on. Have you enjoyed it?
Loved it.
Brilliant.
It's been absolutely brilliant today. Thanks both for playing full out and coming on the show. So I want to thank Charlie and Chris for joining me on Estate Agent Showdown. You can decide who won the arguments today and who debated the best. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe, download, like. Also, send me messages about the kind of guests you want to see on the show moving forward. And I hope you enjoyed the show.